Welcome to Behind the Curtain IMO. I'm Betsy Jordan. I was told that I was making abortion political. And I shared with this group of people that it became political. It wasn't political, but it became political when Roe v. Wade was overturned. That the Supreme Court made it a political issue and a partisan one. But it's interesting because in the very beginning, the Catholic nuns were the ones who lobbied for it, right? So it's interesting because they're religious, right? The original OBGYNs, right? But what they were seeing was women were killing themselves and their babies. They encouraged laws to protect women and children in this country because they saw what was happening. There are women who kill themselves, particularly victims of incest and rape under these laws. It is frightening. Those that believe that the incidence of women not being treated and not being able to get a DNC at the latest stages of their pregnancy are minuscule, they're incorrect. We do not hear about them. Most people don't speak out. Who speaks for the baby? The parents. Who are we to judge? This is about choice. Why would you take that away because you want to impose your will on someone else? Why is it important that you control what is the most important choice a woman can ever make? It's basically none of your business. As to quote Governor Walz. Why is there this push to take that choice away? Under Project 2025, they're saying no drugs. So even if you need a C-section, they're saying no C-sections. Seriously. Donald Trump has tried very hard to distance himself from Project 2025. It's very difficult because a lot of his high-ranking employees work for the Heritage Foundation. His name was mentioned in it 312 times. In this document, which is a manifesto for what is to come under the administration of Donald Trump, and it was written for him and it was written to happen in 2025. So understand this. J.D. Vance was a co-author of that. He's having a hard time distancing himself at it, but they are really trying. Make no mistake. They wrote it. And when documents tend to be written up like that, something that's over 800 pages, they intend to implement it. And that means my rights will be taken away. I will not be able to speak up. I'll not be able to advocate for my daughter. My daughter will not be able to advocate for herself and her healthcare choices. It was only in the 70s when women were allowed to have credit cards. So this is a legislation, and this is the desire. The desire is for states to handle this issue. They're saying it should never have gone to the courts. Well, why did it go to the courts to begin with? It's because there were people dying and there were people lobbying, and it became the law of the land because the courts had to decide. It's a legislation of morality and a restriction of individual freedoms and a choice for you, meaning royal you meaning the group of people who are anti-abortion and anti-reproductive freedoms, for you to say what God would do and then put it into law. It's a legislation of a morality that is so restrictive and so cynical. Your religion is one thing, government is another, and too many wars have been fought by countries who believe that their religion gives them the right to impose restrictions on others. In your faith, meaning the Christian faith, God would not like that either. Project 2025 also means the abolition of no-fault divorce, which gives license to marital rape. And by the way, no-fault divorce, there's a reason why we have those laws. It's because marital rape was happening. It is frightening. If you continue down this path, we would have an authoritarian government which serves no one but a handful of serfs to a king. That's not alarmist. I wish it was. Women will be third-class citizens. And that will not work. So I'm not saying I would personally choose to have an abortion. I definitely chose birth control. And I don't know anyone who doesn't know someone who has benefited from IVF. I've seen Donald Trump say, I didn't say anything about IVF. I've seen J.D. Vance say, I didn't say anything about IVF. But guess what? Project 2025 does. I definitely do not think politicians should be deciding what only the individual or their doctor should discuss between themselves and God. The laws that states have passed banning this procedure are draconian, and that is the reason we discuss it today. It has become political. These laws passed today in the states make politicians and lawyers, mostly white men, who have no clue what that decision must be like for a woman. Makes them the judge and jury when it comes to the country's law. Really, really think about putting yourself in a woman's shoes if you're a man. My point is, since it was Catholic nuns, the original OBGYNs, who made sure that there were laws allowing it in certain instances because there were many unnecessary deaths and many cases where the woman was victimized, it is a legal issue. By the way, without the Catholic Church, there would not have been Protestant churches. Someone was saying, I'm not Catholic. All Christian churches come from the same origin. Those representing the church and delivering babies were the originators of reproductive freedom in this country. The banning of Roe v. Wade means even more restrictive laws against women's health care due to the state's laws being passed right now in super conservative legislatures and meant to restrict women. Why do we have super conservative legislatures? Because of the unfair partisan gerrymandering that led to the election of people who really don't represent their constituencies. I'm for freedom of choice. It's not something that should be up to us since we are not those who these laws affect. They affect my daughter, etc., etc. So I'm going to say this again. The most important decision in a woman's life is not mine. It's between her, God, and her doctor. For without her as the child's vessel, the child cannot survive. And this is Behind the Curtain IMO. Thank you for being here.